Dylan Oakline, thanks for joining me on Grind, Sell, and Elevate. How are you?
I'm doing good, Ty. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Good, man. Excited to talk to you. Seems like there's some parallels with our life. You've had some ups and downs. So have I. I see you, we were just kind of chatting offline. You just had moved to Orlando, which I've
Yep.
been there lots of times. Originally from Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Grew up in rural Pennsylvania, right near Pittsburgh. So
Oh, cool. So what would make
yeah.
you move to from Pittsburgh to Orlando?
Uh, Taxes are lower here.
Yeah, that's why
uh,
I'm in Texas.
there's more to do. I'm a hockey player, so there's actually more hockey here. So, it's a lot better down here, I can say.
Yeah.
But all my family is up there, and my girlfriend's family as well. So we were actually looking, prior to COVID, to like build like a smaller house or something up there, and then keep our house down here. But you know, the world ended, so
Right.
that kind of got shelved. I own some land up in Pennsylvania, so when things return to normal, and life is not ending tomorrow, possibly have a second place up there. but
Cool,
but this
man.
will be the main base for sure.
Yeah, Orlando's great. I mean, there's you said there's so much to do. It's a
Yeah,
great city. Really love it. Now you've gotten your start as an entrepreneur in the digital agency space.
yeah,
Love to find out a little bit about your journey.
sure. Well, to keep it short, my first business, I started that when I was 14, was selling cell phones. Selling cell phones. Most of the sales, I think, came on eBay. This is back whenever,
Yeah.
the best kind of cell phones were in Europe. Europe was far ahead of us when it came to like smartphones and whatnot. But
Mhm.
this is pre iPhone, and I got like a wholesaler somehow approved me, even though I was so young, like they didn't check my age or something, and I was able to get these high end European cell phones at basically wholesale prices, ship them to the U.S., pay all the fees and whatnot, and then I could flip them on eBay and make a couple $100. That's where it all started, man. After reading the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which kind
Hmm.
of like motivated me to get into business and
Yeah.
think of money differently. So that's where it all started, and that followed. That only probably lasted like 6 to 8 months, and then my merchant account got shut down because they found out I wasn't 18.
Right. Yeah. Details.
Yeah, that didn't work out too well. So that followed, 12 years of pain and misery of bouncing around from idea to idea, uh, never really making any progress. But there was always, when I got into, when I was started my first business, this was like the infancy of Google AdWords.
Hmm.
So this was like changing the world of advertising and marketing.
Yeah.
So that fascinated me. And I think I picked up like a couple marketing books at the time. So during those 12 years of just terribleness, between like 14 and 26 or so, uh, there was always kind of a background of doing like digital agency marketing type of work. And now um, I own an education company and a digital marketing agency called Oakland Digital. So
Awesome.
that's just a short end of the story.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, I think that there's a lot to be said for people who can persevere through struggle and hardship, right? I mean, it makes
Yeah.
the gratitude so much better on the other side of that when you start to have
Oh,
success. And it makes you a lot more relatable, once you hear a story about someone always winning. Um,
yeah.
but what kind of did you go to school for that type of work as far as marketing or anything, or is it something you were just
No,
always
no, I'm
interested in?
no, I'm a high school dropout. I eventually did get my GED. I think after I turned 18, this was to get health insurance. Like,
Sure.
no
Yeah.
joke. Like I had to get a GED to the health insurance was through SBA, Small Business
Mhm.
Administration. I forget. This was a long time ago, and they required you to have at least a GED or a high school diploma. So I did that, but never went to college. I've taken like I think two college classes just for fun
Nice.
because I
Yeah.
just kind of wanted to go down that route. I have no desire to get a degree. I have no degree. I have no
Sure.
formal training in marketing. So
Yeah. To be honest with you, I think that the way that things are moving, in the future is that I spent a shitload of money in college, and I, to some degree, wish I wouldn't have gone. Even I've got two kids that are 6 and 4, and we've got 529s for them. But I've
Hmm.
also put a bunch of money into just random mutual funds because, like, they don't want to go to school. I'm not going to press it upon them. I think that the way of the future is going to be able to take courses,
Yeah.
right, and specialize just in that, almost more vocational style, because I think that makes a lot more sense than regurgitating shit you learned in high school and then paying a lot of money for it in college.
100%, man. There's no doubt in my mind that education as we know it is just, and I think COVID changed how we do education, how we view work. I mean, these
Mhm.
things were already changing, and it just
Yeah.
ratcheted up to 100. So yeah, I absolutely agree that the education in the future is the way you put it. That's the first time I've heard somebody say like more vocational style. That's absolutely correct. I know people who have a lot of other people who have no formal training. They took courses on, how to start certain businesses or whatnot, go down a certain business model. And, they make six figures, seven figures, they're making several $100,000 a year. Whereas, there's people who go to college for 4 years and they're maybe making 60 grand. Uh, yeah, I mean, it's definitely education as we know it is changing. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, in your space, it's something, to be honest with you. I've had e-commerce businesses.
Hmm.
A couple did it well, a couple that did not do very well. And the big connect was, when I was working with somebody that had a fairly good idea with marketing, obviously it ran a lot smoother. I tried to do it on my own, did not go very well. What do you see when you're working with, I'm sure, obviously entrepreneurs and businesses, as like the missing link? Are people just not paying attention to marketing enough, especially on the online space?
I think it's something where uh, a lot of say you're talking specifically the e-commerce space. A
Sure.
lot of people, they view it almost as secondary. Like, oh, like, yeah, I should be working on that. It should be something on the side. And because they're not focused on it, they're not really committed to making their marketing work. They fall into the trap of chasing the shiniest object.
Mm,
Let's try TikTok today, or Snapchat, or all these different things. Um, because they're just looking for the quick hit. They're trying to make content that goes viral
yeah.
instead of actually just committing to making their marketing work. I truly believe in e-commerce is actually a perfect example. If you have an e-commerce business, you're selling some kind of product. I mean, really, like, your number one priority should be to get your marketing working.
Yeah.
Um, and I've talked about this before, and like, I like to kind of have the backdrop of, like, I'm not saying don't provide a good product or service to your clients. Like, that should be like me telling you to breathe. Like, I
Yeah.
shouldn't need to tell you to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Right.
But in terms of like, what am I focusing on in my business? Marketing should be that thing, and the reason is it allows you to buy growth once you figure it out. Whether it's Google ads or Facebook or YouTube ads. If you're able to get a campaign working where it's profitable, you most likely can just go in and like add another zero to the budget, and boom, next thing you know, it's scaled 10 times.
Yeah.
uh, and once you get the marketing going, then it's like all these other problems in your business that you're like, oh, I need to hire a new person, or spend development money on this new product. Well, if you know that you can purchase sales whenever you need to, all those problems become a lot easier to solve. So I truly believe number one focus should be on getting your marketing to go, because it allows you to buy growth.
Yeah. That makes total sense. If you understand your conversion ratios, like you said, you add a little bit more capital into the marketing, you understand, how much more money you're going to make, right? So then you're like, oh, I can afford help, or I can put into product development, or whatever it is, whatever you're trying to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It literally is. I view it as it is a printing press. You turn that. An example I've used before is like, it becomes a faucet. Like, oh, I need more cash flow in my business. I need more sales. Just open up the faucet a little bit more. You can't really see if I'm turning on the faucet.
Right.
Turn the faucet on, and boom, you got more leads. You got more customers coming to your site. It really can be that easy once you figure it out and you get it going.
I thought you were going to say like the Federal Reserve. But that's a
I
that's
mean,
a
yeah, I mean, something like that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's a whole nother thing. Um, where do you see really the trajectory? I get really interested in this. We've seen, social media. It was kind of like, I feel like Google ads, and then you had like social media, the influencer space. Where do you
Hmm.
see marketing going? Now, I think that a lot of people, I was just talking to my mother-in-law who owns a business in Newport Beach in California about, she was, creating landing pages, right? And testing landing pages. And is that now a space that people should be looking at more advantageous than building out like this $100,000 website? Or where do you see kind of the market trends?
Uh, I mean, that can go in many different directions.
Sure, wherever you want to take it, man.
And as far as when it comes to building out your marketing, you mentioned like $100,000 website. I tell my clients, I tell my students, keep things ridiculously simple,
Mm.
because you want to be flexible. You don't want to spend $100,000 on a website or all these landing pages, and you could be wrong. Like your presumption of the market could probably or is probably wrong. The best thing to do is just put stuff out into the marketplace and see what sticks. Let the market decide, and it could be 10 different versions of a landing page, which actually I probably wouldn't recommend that many landing pages, but it could be
Yeah.
multiple versions of a landing page. It can be multiple versions of an ad. Don't spend a lot of time, resources, money, uh, on specific ideas until you've actually tested it into the marketplace. Does that answer your question? I think that's what you're going for.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just curious, or someone who's got a startup business, and, I think the first inclination is I'm going to make a website, and
Hmm.
people are like the whole field of dreams concept. And I
Yeah.
just don't think that that is relevant. And most people, um, especially like the business owners that we work with, and insurance, the average age is 58, older white male. That's the demographic,
Hmm.
across the United States. And, like they're asking, how do I make a Facebook page? You know what I mean? So it's just like, I think there's like some misnomers that I'm just gonna make a website and then people are gonna come to me, or I'm not even gonna build one, because I've heard people say like, why do people need to know about me in China? Well, that's the case. That's not what we're. That's not actually the goal. Maybe
Yeah.
it is, depending on if you have an international business, right? But how do you start to structure clients to have them have success, or what do you start to lead them first in order to start, generating sales? Say I've got a good product. I know I've got a
Hmm.
good service. What's my next step?
Well, most of the clients, especially at least the clients that we typically are onboarding, already have at least some online presence, probably at least have a website.
Hmm.
If you're like a startup, I mean, you don't necessarily, yeah, I mean, just build like a quick website and Squarespace. I mean, literally that's it. You don't need a huge complex website. Just build something in Squarespace,
Sure.
and then literally just start. If I'm onboarding a client, it's literally just start putting things out into the marketplace, starting running ads to a specific landing page. Keep the landing page really simple. Again, everything is, I use the term lean, mean, and scrappy. Like you just want as basic and as simple as possible to get things out into the marketplace and actually test things.
Yeah.
In the tech space, they talk about minimal viable product, minimal viable service. Like there's a lot to be said about that. And every single thing, you want your minimal viable marketing, the absolute bare minimum to put things out into the marketplace, uh, and just get feedback. And a lot of the times, um, you know, you could still run that very simple landing page, that very simple website, and all of a sudden you have $100,000 in sales coming in every month off of a very simple landing page, because those things actually don't matter. What matters is getting things out into the marketplace and then bringing that, turning the faucet on and getting
Right.
that flow coming in.
Yeah.
So everything that I do when it comes to marketing and business is keep things as ridiculously simple as possible. Just ruthlessly cut things. I apply the 80-20 method. Do you know what the
Mhm.
80-20 method is? Yeah,
Yeah.
I
We're
apply that to,
yeah.
to everything. Everything.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Now, was there? Now, you talked a little about, when I read in your bio, and we talked a bit offline, that you kind of obviously you went through a period of vast struggle,
Yeah.
right? And trying to get, I'm assuming this type of idea up and going so it could be profitable for you.
Mm.
Um,
Go ahead. What was the
oh, so
question?
so the question was really going to be, kind of what was the pivotal turning point or what was the aha moment for you that really launched you from like, man, I'm just struggling, nothing's going for me to boom, now I'm rolling over the course of what, 3 or 4 years, you turned it into a 7-figure digital ad agency.
Sure. This is actually a great question. So in my particular case, I mentioned, when I started my first business, I kind of got into marketing then, and 12 years of pain and suffering. It wasn't 12 years of trying to get the agency going. I was always kind of doing like agency work, kind of to pay bills. Like, if you needed a website, I was your guy. If you needed a banner, I was your guy. You needed a PowerPoint done, I could do it for you. You need a logo, I'm your guy. And so what the turning point for me was at the end of 2016. I get a call from a long-term mentor of mine. And long story short, we exchange pleasantries, and it's like, hey, how are things going? I lie and I say, yeah, things are great. And I'm like up to my eyeball. I mean, beyond my eyeballs in debt. I'm making, maybe 50 grand a year, struggling. I got all these projects. I don't even know what a vacation is. What is that? I'm freezing my ass off in Pennsylvania in my basement office.
Right.
I couldn't turn the heat on because I couldn't afford it. It was bad. And eventually, I admit that, like, I tell that to him. I'm like, things actually suck, dude. They're not good. They suck. And what he said to me was, you need to stop focusing. I can never remember what the exact quote was. You need to stop trying to build an airline and instead drill for oil. So that's where it started. Okay. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? What the hell does that mean? And he goes on to explain that, like, okay, so you're doing all these different business ideas. And my main goal was I just need to get to 6 figures. Like, that was just, I don't know why, just 100,000. I want to get to 100,000. And he's like, you're doing these businesses where, like, if you're the best of the best, like one of them was, I had a Kindle publishing business, which is a long story, but like the best of the best in the program I was following for that, the guy was making like 5 grand a month, maybe 6 or 7, but that was like good money, was making 5 grand with that. And he's like, so you would have to be the best of the best to make even 5 grand, which still doesn't hit your goal.
Right.
He's like, where he was going with that airline versus oil wells was, or drilling for oil was, the airline industry is just ridiculously difficult for people to make money in, like notoriously difficult.
Yeah.
And the best of the best will get into that business and they still don't make money. They, like, the best still lose money in that industry. Whereas with oil, it's not necessarily that it's easy. It's just not as hard. You can be mediocre and still make a lot of money in that business. Of course, I know things have changed now, but that was the lesson at the point at the time. So, I'm talking to him and he's like, so you want to aim for a business where the best of the best are making 100 grand a month, so that if you end up just being like, okay, you still make your 10 grand a month, your 6-figure income that you want. So literally that night, I go downstairs in my freezing basement. It was so cold, so cold. And I just scrapped everything, all these miscellaneous projects that were going nowhere, making no money. And I just focused on the digital agency. And then I took it even further. I was like, oh, okay, well, I need a website for my agency. And then I need this. And then I need business cards. And I was like, no, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole again. I'm not going to fall for that old, like, everything needs to be perfect, because I'm naturally a perfectionist. I was just like, I'm just going to reach out to these previous clients that I've had and offer them digital marketing services. Just ruthlessly cut everything and focus on one single thing. And within, 3 or 4 months, I was on pace for 6 figures. Did not hit 7 figures in 2017. It came close. But in 2016 or 2017, definitely hit six figures. And then in 2018, finally hit seven figures.
Man,
So
that's
it was very
fast.
quick.
That's very
Yeah.
fast.
And all it was just not wasting my time on all this unnecessary stuff, ruthlessly focus on just one thing. Uh, and that was it, man.
Yeah, I love that. I would just did a man, I did like a kind of like a business challenge with Riley Meek and Steve Weatherford. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them.
I'm
And
not, no.
yeah, Steve Weatherford, he's played in the NFL, and Riley Meek is a little bit in your space. And but they talk about, you know, once you're in alignment, you'll find your assignment, right? So it's always constantly. I think sometimes you have to hone in and get in
Hmm.
alignment with yourself, and then like everything kind of just organically happens
Yeah.
a bit easier. Now, one of the things that's always interests me, and I've struggled with this a bit, is finding mentors and people that can help you and push you and kind of guide you. How
Sure.
instrumental has that been for you?
I have been blessed to just have, uh, I mean, there, I cannot put into words how important mentorship or just having like a reference point where, you know, somebody who can say, yep, just keep going. Like, as stupid as that is, like, that is
Yeah.
so critical. I was blessed that I had, uh, I think we talked before the show that, I play hockey. So I was
Hmm.
just blessed to have incredible coaches, just met random mentors who were incredible, gave me a ton of education. Uh, yeah, I cannot put into words how important that is. If you can't find them, like you're just not meeting people in your circle. Just read books. Like for me, I've never met Tim Ferriss, but the 4 Hour Work Week changed my life, and like I would consider him a mentor.
Hmm.
I've never met Robert Kiyosaki. I think
Hmm.
he's the writer of
Rich Dad Poor
Rich
Dad.
Dad Poor Dad.
Yep.
Huge mentor of mine, but I've never met the guy. So if you can't, um, if you're not meeting people in your community or just in your life that can be mentors, just read books or uh, who follow people who are where you want to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge way. And then also, I pay for a ton of like masterminds and education and stuff like that, training programs and whatnot. Uh, and again, it's just to keep you, you know, kind of a reference point. Like, hey, I'm heading in the right direction.
Yeah. Good. You kind of you hit on exactly the thing that I have had to do, right? I mean, I would say my father-in-law, I've been lucky. He's been a good mentor of mine,
Hmm.
business wise. But like, you know, I'm a huge proponent. I've got Grant Cardone. I've got his little Millionaire I Can't See booklet right there. I did his boot camp last week. I've never met him. But like someone like I'm really interested in real estate. So, you know, I think that people miss the opportunity to realize that you have exposure to like literally anybody almost nowadays in a space that you want to get into.
Yeah, one comment on that is I think you've mentioned Grant Cardone. I mean he's extremely motivating. Uh, I think it's you definitely would have find somebody. You don't look for like the perfect mentor. I don't
Sure.
think that's a good. You want to look for somebody that you just kind of vibe with, somebody
Yeah.
that you're like, this guy is cool, or this girl, like I mean, she's just so awesome, or he's so awesome. Just find somebody and then just follow like typically one person. So like you know, I use the example of two, obviously Tim Ferriss and Robert Kiyosaki. Robert Kiyosaki is mostly you know, business and money.
Hmm.
Tim Ferriss is mostly lifestyle design. But I'm not following like four different people or mentors on you know, how to start a business or how to do this or how to do that. Really just try to pick like one person, maybe two, and just follow that person's advice. Because the truth is if they got where they are, probably their advice is pretty good.
Yeah.
Looking for like the perfect mentor is just not a good idea.
Yeah. I like that. I think that your common theme for you is kind of simplicity in your life, right, man? I mean, but there's a lot to be said for that, which is honing in and having extreme focus.
Oh,
It
yeah, yeah,
takes you different
absolutely.
places. I was listening to Kiyosaki this morning when I was doing my cardio. I was listening to
Oh,
one of
really?
his, yeah, one of his, he was going off about the pandemic, but that's a whole nother topic. But he,
Yeah.
I love listening to his material. He's a really insightful guy. Another real estate guy. That's something that really kind of
Yeah,
fascinates
he's
me.
big into real estate. So,
Yeah. Now, you said that you have students. So what is that about?
yeah. So, I have a education company. It's just ran under my personal name. I mean, I have like an LLC and everything, but it's just dylanogline.com. And that is for teaching people how to start and grow their own digital agency. That actually started a couple years ago, like just while I was building things. Like even whenever I was still struggling and doing terrible, I would just meet people at industry events, chamber of commerce events, things like all kinds of things, and they would just be like, "Oh man, I'd love to start my own business," and just I was like, "Oh, cool! I can kind of give back and kind of be somebody's mentor."
Sure. Yeah.
So, I did that. Nobody got any results because they were never committed. I finally learned that lesson after a few years.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I was really passionate about that, and I kept going back to it, even though I wasn't making any money from it.
Hmm.
And then once my agency hit 7 figures, I kind of stopped and kind of looked back, and I was like, I'm just going to keep aiming higher, and I'm not getting more satisfied. So, I mean, which is a very privileged and lucky place to be for sure.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm really passionate about this like coaching and teaching thing. I mentioned that I've had incredible coaches in my life who had a huge influence on me. It was kind of like, I kind of want to do that. So I still have the agency, but now most of my time and focus goes towards the education company.
Oh, that's cool. I think there's a lot that what Tony Robbins says, living is giving, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love Tony.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. He's awesome. Um, now, if you could define a little, because I want to go back, because I think a lot of people would be upset if I didn't ask the question. Because now we understand now where you went to, where you are,
Hmm.
and you were kind of just talking about, hey, I just went back to my old clients, right? And I said, maybe someone I built a banner for, or I helped them with a Facebook page, or I did a logo, and I went back. And so you went back and you kind of went all in on them and said,
Hmm.
hey, let me just take over the marketing. So you walk us through a little bit of your process of how you were able to scale so quick. It's super impressive, man. To go, even making $100,000 a month is for a lot of people is life changing. But
Sure.
to be able to make, I know the exact numbers, make $83,000 a month is,
Yeah.
what gets you $1 million.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's
I
very
think
hard.
it's, I always look at weekly, and I remember, I think I had it back in the day. I had a post, not to interrupt your question.
No,
I
no, no.
apologize,
Yeah.
but I used to have a post-it note on my wall in my freezing basement. It was 1923 and change. I forget what the
Right.
pennies were. 1923. If I got to that, which I didn't look like, I wasn't trying to get to just 1 week where I randomly got a $2,000 check. It was, I wanted to average 1923 or more over the previous 23 weeks, which is weird. It's almost half a year, but I'm obsessed with the number 23.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that's good.
I kept the spreadsheet, and it was just every week, like every Monday or Friday, I would do my bookkeeping, and like I put in like how much revenue did I do this week, and it would, I had that spreadsheet calculate what was the rolling average over the last 23 weeks. And it was 1923 was what I wanted to get to, because that got me to 6 figures. And then obviously 7 figures, you just add another zero. So
Right.
19,230. So I apologize for interrupting
Oh,
this.
no, no, it's good. No,
I remember that post-it note.
yeah, no, that's awesome. I think visualizing where you want to get is super powerful. It's one of my
Sure.
morning routines for me personally.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
So really my question was though, how did you tactfully, because this is where the sales pieces comes in,
Oh,
right?
yes.
How did you start to tactfully start to scale? Was it, I hit your old clients are dried up.
Hmm.
How do we move forward? Is it just online? Are you picking up the phone? A little bit of both? How are we starting to scale this?
Well, if you mean by picking up the phone, cold calling, like hell no. I despise cold calling.
Okay.
No, so what happened was, currently right now, our agency, we do 7 figures off of less than 10 clients. So it's not a lot of clients.
Sure.
And that's something I teach is like, you want to, which I'll bring this around to your question. You want to focus on just a particular niche or something like that, because as you onboard clients, if you're continuously like in the same niche, you're going to get better and better. And the better you get with the clients, the more their spending is going to go up. In us particularly, we charge 10% of ad spend. So if the client spends, $50,000 a month in ads, we send them an invoice for $5,000. It's summarizing what we do. So, if they spend 50,000 and they see a positive ROI, they're going to be like, well, let's do it 70,000 next month.
Sure.
And then, the more and more, that's how it grows. So it's not, when it comes to sales, it's not like I sold, 100 people into the agency. So bringing this back to your question. So what I did was I reached out to previous clients. I, at the time, was doing some ad management, but it was maybe, $500 a month in revenue. So I knew how to do it. I had the baseline knowledge. And so I just went to clients and I was like, hey, I'm also offering this service. I think I got maybe one or two, like that's all it was. And that kind of allowed me to scale up. And then because I was focusing on just one product, one service, and like a few different verticals, then I was able to start doing Google ads and spend a couple $100 on Google ads and you're able to get a new client where you're going to be making, typically several $1,000s a year off of them. So once I got a little bit of money into the business, I had no problem ramping up that Google AdWords budget. And that was it. That's all it was. It was a lot easier than what you would think.
Yeah. Well, it's what would they call a symbiotic relationship, right? As you're growing them, like you're growing yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is
100%, man.
Which is super, super cool. I never even thought about it in those terms. Obviously, I'm not very good at marketing, but I love that idea because that goes back to your 80-20 principle as well. And
yeah,
right. And so it all kind of all plays hand in hand. Now I'm getting a real good picture, Dylan, of the playbook here.
That's some green juice.
Yeah, man. Looks like something my wife would drink. She's
my girlfriend makes it for me. So.
Yeah, she's a holistic nutritionist, so she's
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. She threatens me. I can't stay out of shape if we want to stay married. So hopefully she doesn't listen to this.
Yeah.
So when you read the 4-Hour Workweek, I read that too, and actually what prompted me to launch my first e-commerce business. I was super inspired by it. So what about that book? Was it the lifestyle? Was it the info? What about that really kind of, inspired you?
What I took away from it was two main things, which for those of you who haven't read it, it's not actually about working 4 hours a week.
Yeah.
That's actually, he used, if you remember from the book, I think he talks about this in the book. He used, I think it was Google ads. He just like ran a couple tests. One of the things he talks about is just testing things in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. He ran a couple tests to like a blank landing page and just seeing, what had the highest click-through rate. And the title 4-Hour Workweek had the highest click-through rate. So it's not about working 4 hours a week. It's really about, what I took away from it was two main things. One was the 80-20 method. Just, there's so much we're conditioned in the United States, especially, like, if you're not working 40 hours a week, you're kind of lazy.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? Especially if you have your own business, like you should be working 100 hours a week. What's wrong with you? Like that's how it needs to be. I grew up in that culture. Like, I'm from a town where, like, if you're, I stuck out like a sore thumb because it was like, I could actually travel eventually once I got the business going. And that kind of mentality is very frowned upon still in this country. Mm-hmm. So that kind of 80-20, just focusing on the 20% of things that give you 80% of your results, that was just blew my world. and I actually, I was like, I read it and then I actually like looked at things and I was like, wow, like 80% of my income is coming from 20% of my clients. And 80% of my problems are coming from 20% of my clients.
Yeah. That needs to be said again.
yeah. Just so one of the things I teach is actually fire bad clients. Like, don't waste your time on clients, because it's just sometimes you just have people who are unreasonable. So I took that away, from that book, was just blew my world. And the other was just the idea of lifestyle design.
Mhm.
At the time when I picked that book up, all I wanted was an office and to commute to work and live a miserable office lifestyle. Like that's what I wanted, because that was what I was taught, was like, that's the goal, is to have this office with full-time employees and get a fancier office and increase your
Right.
budget, and just the idea of like, you don't actually have to do that. And it might be more efficient, and you might have a better life if you're working from home or working while you travel around the world. Uh, yeah, that rocked my world. And I remember, when I picked that book up and I read it, and I was like, I talked to my girlfriend about it, and I was like, I will have this life. And it took me like 3 or 4 years, but eventually got there.
Hey, in the longevity of things, that's very quick. So, I mean, and congrats to you, on your success, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
I
truly.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
very blessed, very lucky.
what's incredible what you've created. But I'm sure there were some more than 40-hour work weeks put in. So,
Yeah, yeah. It was. I used to be. I mean, I've always kind of worked out and kept relatively healthy, but I
mhm.
remember, uh, working until I remember going to the gym at 6 a.m. because I hadn't gone to sleep yet. Like, it wasn't like I got up early. It was like,
Yeah.
no, like, oh man, like I got to go to bed sometime here soon, but like I haven't gone to the gym yet. So I'll go to the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning, or going for runs at 5 o'clock. And, everybody's like, oh man, that Dylan guy, he got up real early to go for a run this morning. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? I haven't
Yeah.
gone to sleep yet.
I'm keeping it rolling, man.
Yeah, it was lots of Monster Energy drink, and
Yeah.
at least I was doing the low carb version, not
Yeah.
getting the sugar. But it was really bad, and now, now I get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night.
That's great.
It's a world of difference. World
Yeah,
of difference. What about
absolutely.
you? You 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 mentioned your wife. I mean, you keeping healthy and
Oh yeah, man.
keeping.
I've got a pretty good morning routine. I go to bed usually 9:30. I'm up at about a quarter to five, and I kind of go through a meditation practice. I just started doing some Wim Hof breathing exercises.
I'm aware
For
of him, yeah. Or
yeah,
that's the guy's name, right?
yeah, Wim
Wim Hof.
Hof. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. He's a Polish guy.
yeah.
So I've been doing that the last month incorporated, but then I do some affirmations, visualization practice. I depending on how long that all kind of takes me. Some I don't like to put a timer on my meditation. I like to kind of just go.
Hmm.
Usually it's 10 to 30 minutes. I like to journal and read if I can in the morning, and then I try to get to the gym by about 6:10, and then done by about 7:05, and then I'm in the office by about 7:40. So I
That's
pretty
awesome, man.
pretty regimented, and I do that about 6 days a week. I coach my son's basketball on Saturday, so
Well,
that's
that's
the
cool.
yeah. So that's the only
That's
time.
cool.
Man, hey, it's like herding cats, coaching 5 and 6 year olds. It's
Yeah, that's not coaching. That's like daycare, man.
yeah, 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 yeah. So that's the only time that I'll sleep until 6:30, and then kind of get up and make breakfast for the family and stuff. But
Gotcha, man.
yeah, I think it's super important to live a healthy lifestyle because it goes hand in hand with your cognitive function. Even on my desk,
Oh,
I've got fish oil, Alpha Brain. I just coffee's always black. I try to keep you got to keep the body running.
absolutely, man. There's a world of difference, and just like everything you mentioned, except for the journaling, is pretty much that summarizes my morning routine. I also do like a little bit of yoga, stretching, just to kind of
Mm,
get the body warmed up. But I absolutely believe the first and last hour of your day defines your life.
mm,
If you're one of those people who, like I used to be, where you're drinking Monster like an hour before bed just to get a little bit more work done, and then crashing into bed. I mean, your life is probably that summarizes your life right there. And you're
yep.
getting up and immediately hitting work and going to your laptop. Like, well, that probably summarizes your life. And there's your sign. There's your problem.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a
Yeah.
lot to be said about that.
What do you do before? Anything special before you go to bed?
So I right now, kind of my timings got mixed up with with COVID, I got to admit, but I do not, I stop working 2 hours before bed,
Mm.
try to read for about a half hour, and probably 3 or 4 nights out of the week, I think it's called a Japanese onsen. I don't know. I think I picked this up from Tim. I've also been to Asia a couple times and like experienced the culture there.
Sure.
But they do this thing where basically you get into really hot water like right before bed. Like a basically you're soaking in hot water. You're not doing a bubble bath.
Yeah.
Like I'm not putting on some romantic
Yeah.
music and like sitting in the bubbles and drinking a glass of wine. So I'll drink tea and cold ice water. You can get into like the hottest water I can possibly stand with some is it Epsom salt. Yeah, Epsom salt, and just kind of soak for like 10 to 15 minutes. And I guess this is like a popular thing in Japanese culture,
Mhm.
and it elevates your body temperature so that whenever you get out, your body is diverting all of its resources to lower your temperature, and it just knocks you out.
Wow.
And dude, I sleep like a baby.
I got to try that because I do have I go to bed early because I have a lot of issues sleeping. For me personally, I'm up. Well, last night was a crazy exception. We had our smoke detectors went off at 2:30 a.m.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah,
Yes, I
going
had that problem too a
fire,
couple times.
fire, fire, and then they shut off, and I get back in bed, and then I get a fire truck outside about 10 minutes later. So
Are you serious?
yeah, they came in.
Oh, that's
I had,
great.
I had five. I had I had five firefighters in my house at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was like, oh, okay,
Oh man, that's brutal. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
it
sorry
was.
to hear that, man.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
was no fire though, so that was good.
Yeah, you got, I
Yeah.
guess that is a plus. That is a
That was a
plus.
plus. Yeah, we just bought the
Yeah.
house and we just finished remodeling the kitchen last week, so my wife would have been real pissed if the house would have gone up. So
That would have been bad. Yeah.
yeah. Cool. Any other success habits that you have that you would recommend to people?
Success habits. A lot of what I would repeat that the first and last hour of your day define your life. It's not sexy. Most people are looking for a sales hack or where's the secret place or what's the secret to get Facebook ads working and no, like we've talked about simplicity. Like I don't believe in that there's any secret hacks or anything there. Like just you need to be focused, you need to take care of your body, you need to take care of yourself, take care of your mind. A lot of what you've talked about, like with that morning routine, uh I do the same thing. I do affirmations. I have like a PDF document that I pull up. I go through that every morning. I meditate for 10 to 15 minutes. I eat healthy, which is obviously pretty important.
Yeah.
So I do that. A little bit of intermittent fasting, uh, and take care of your body and stuff like that. It's not, like I said, it's not sexy, but that stuff matters, especially as I think we get more and more into creative work.
Hmm.
I talk about this in my program where a lot of people, they come into the work culture with like this, you have to work 100 hours a week and be unhealthy, and just all that matters is the grind. And there is some to be said of that. Obviously the name of the podcast
Sure.
is grind.
Sure.
But man, if you're not going to be creative if you're eating shitty foods and getting 4 hours of sleep a night and not taking care of yourself. So if you're in any kind of creative industry, which is like 95% of people these days, you got to take care of yourself. You got to, your mind matters. And I think that would be my success habit of the day.
No, I love that. I mean, honestly, one of the reasons why I started this podcast because I think it is important to have a strong work ethic with anything that you do, to do it with discipline. But I'm not a proponent of like the Gary Vee mentality of like, fuck vacations for 15 years and I'm going to work 18 hours a day. I'm going to work my face off. Like, I respect that dude tremendously, but not
Oh,
everybody,
absolutely.
right? But not everybody wants to have a $250 million company. I think there's
Yeah.
a lot of people that want to like, how do I just grow? How do I get to $100,000? You know what I mean? Like, how do I just get to
Yeah.
$100,000 and do it? And I can just be happy and I can enjoy my children and we can go on 3 vacations a year. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that that's sometimes it gets a little over glorified what just working way too much. And so I like the simplicity of just, keep it mellow, be happy with whatever that is to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, mentioning that six figures, man, I think once you get above kind of six figures, there's a world of difference between making 50,000 and making 100,000.
Hmm.
There's not much difference between making 100,000 and 150. Like there's a diminishing rates of return. Like there's a huge increase in quality of life once you hit 100,000, and then it kind of like really flatlines. And there's no reason, if you have the grind to go to $100 million business, like awesome, dude. But you know, don't work yourself into a heart attack. Like we're gonna die.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, spend time with your family, actually enjoy life. And I have found, once I actually kind of took a couple vacations and like worked while I traveled and kind of lived that digital nomad lifestyle, I found that I actually got better.
Mm.
Like that's kind of a dirty secret, is like, you you actually can get better, especially if you're doing a creative industry where like you have to think and you have to put your creativity into things. If you're actually traveling the world and not miserable behind your desk, you might actually get better at what you're doing.
Yeah.
Who would have
Yeah,
known?
I know. No, I like that. And that was a hard lesson for me, was learning how to take time off. Because I had such a scarcity mindset for so long
Hmm.
that if I'm not at work, I'm going to miss something. I'm going to miss the next sale. And it was really my wife that got me to be like, and I think that COVID was as a good lesson for a lot of people too, that, hey, you can work anywhere and still get your job done.
Yeah.
And so like right now we're in uh, fourth quarter, or my industry, we do 50% of our business in the next 3 months. And I've got it. We're going to Park City at the end of this month, and Big Bear next month. And everybody's like, "You're crazy." I'm like, "Why am I crazy, man? Like, I can go sit up at a coffee shop in the snow with my family and like be just as efficient. I've already proved that for 6 months.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
I think we were heading that way to begin with, and then COVID just it taught everybody like, oh wow, my employees can actually work from home.
Right.
People don't have to start their own business. You could be an employee and be virtual and do your job. You could be in sales and still do your job remotely and actually enjoy your life and not be miserable.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a
And
super important lesson.
yeah, absolutely. And it shook a lot of people. And I think in the end, that'll be something that once we come out of this, that'll be a huge thing, that a huge positive
Yeah.
that'll
Agreed.
that'll come out of this for sure. No doubt
Any
about it.
any predictions for tomorrow?
Well, you're from Texas, right? Or no? Yeah, are you from Texas?
Well, I'm from California, but I spent some time in Atlanta, and I spent some time in obviously Houston. I've been in Houston for about 18 months. I keep my
Okay.
cards pretty close because no one ever knows. I grew up in the Bay Area, went to college in San Diego, was in Atlanta, and now I'm in Houston. So I'm a wild card.
Predictions. I think Biden's gonna. We're not gonna get a winner tomorrow. I don't think that.
I don't think so.
Uh, the from what I've heard, like especially with the number of mail-in votes, and are you comfortable talking about politics
Yeah,
on
yeah,
your
yeah. No,
show?
I read that you were, so I was just
I
all
mean,
right.
I'll talk
I
about it all
know,
day long.
so I threw a curveball at you.
I think with the number of mail-in ballots in some states, I'm pretty sure Pennsylvania is one of them, where
Hmm.
they prevented them from counting them until tonight at midnight. They can't even start, and it takes like 4 times longer to check a mail-in or to count a mail-in ballot.
Yeah,
So because of that, we're not going to get final counts tomorrow,
yeah,
which we never do.
right.
Like that's important. That's important to point out. It's not like every single time in our history, all the ballots are counted on election day. Like that's just not how it works. Like, they count them after that, but it's, they get to a certain point where they're like, hey, 90% have been tallied, and like this person's way ahead. So
Sure.
that's how it works. For some people who aren't aware of that. So I think Biden's going to win. I hope to. Uh, I am a former Republican. Let me point that out.
Okay. All right.
But I'm a liberal now. Uh, I pray for the Republic.
Yes.
I do believe uh, again, I'm trying to I'm walking a thin line with you because I don't know. You're from Texas, man. I believe with Trump, I'll say this. I believe with Trump, it is beyond, tax policy or foreign policy or healthcare. I mean, we're talking about the rule of law, and we're talking about like norms and like how we do things in this country. And I mean, I don't think anybody could argue that our country is in a better place now than what it was 4 years ago. So if it was like Mitt Romney, like I almost voted for Mitt Romney.
Yeah,
And if there was like a Mitt Romney like running this time, I might vote for him.
sure.
But I think tomorrow it's a decision between the Republic staying together or us collapsing.
Yeah.
That is my
No,
opinion.
well, hey, I'm a libertarian, so I get to play both
They-
sides. So,
Yeah, you do.
yeah, yeah. I was a huge Ron Paul supporter back in the day, and really for me, I was a Rand Paul supporter going into the 2016. I did vote for Trump the first time just because I know too much about the Clintons' past, and I didn't feel comfortable with that. I was a
Mhm.
huge fan of Tulsi going into this, and I thought the Democratic Party really kind of fucked up by not putting her as a nominee because she had so much going for her that the party said that they wanted, and so that was really disappointing to me. Um, so I think for most of the country, it put us in a precarious position, which we've seen play out time and time and time again. Which is why I think the two-party system is broken and term limits got to be fixed, right? So
100%.
yeah,
Not to jump in front of you there, but I 100% agree with that. I personally was a big Bernie supporter. I liked
Okay.
Bernie, mostly for healthcare, but no, I think two-party system is absolutely terrible for our country. Not only is it broken, it's terrible for our country. Term limits, like no shit, we need that.
yeah,
Like,
right.
but I think the thing is like most people kind of already agree with that. Like
Yeah,
Republicans, conservatives, libertarians, Democrats, the hardcore liberals, they agree that we should have term limits and people should be able to vote and all those things. It's gotten so broken and so dirty and that is what I think I'm more scared of than anything.
yeah, yeah. The key word's dirty. It's not been fun to watch play out. And as a father, you're kind of like, man, what's the example on both sides? That we're setting for the children, and that gets lost. Anytime I look at my Facebook feed, I want to throw up. Um,
Even though I make my money off of Facebook,
yeah,
don't use Facebook.
yeah,
I
right.
tell everybody I know, like, don't use Facebook at all. Like, maybe have a profile to check up on your family, but do not ever scroll down.
Yeah,
Don't.
yeah.
It'll eat your
Oh
mind.
man, it's garbage. It's garbage.
It is
Dylan,
it's
yeah,
total shit, man.
yeah. Dylan,
Absolutely.
it's been super good chatting with you, man. I've enjoyed this
Absolutely, man.
conversation. Besides 4 Hour Work Week, there's any other books that you would recommend to people?
The two undoubtedly would be 4 Hour Work Week and Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Perfect.
That
Yeah.
yeah, they're simple, easy, and digestible. Uh, and absolutely changed my life. If I had to pick two, those would be it.
Good. I
So,
love
and then
love both of them.
I know you can't see behind me, but I got a ton of. This is actually right there. That's like my political section. That's
Oh, good.
two shelves of political books up there. Some stoicism. Yeah, I got a ton of
Good.
books.
Yeah, that's
I read
important,
a lot.
man. I think I do too. That was one of the things I had posted a thing on Instagram, like I don't know, it was a week and a half ago, and I had uh, read Mary Trump's book, right? But then
Mhm.
right next to it, I had Liberal Privilege by Trump Jr. And then I've got a Mother Jones magazine, but then I've got The Economist right there. You know what I mean? It's important to have a full scope of
Yeah.
everything because that's how you make informed decisions, which unfortunately doesn't happen as much anymore. So I can appreciate you doing your due diligence.
Sure.
Where can people connect with you?
Well, if you're looking for an agency to manage your ads, oglinedigital.com, which I'll probably put in the show notes.
Yeah.
And then if you're looking to start your own digital agency, visit dylanogline.com and join the waiting list there.
Cool, man. I really appreciate it. Appreciate your time. It's been a fun conversation. I appreciate you
Absolutely, man.
being open-minded to some wacky questions there at the end.
Hey, no
Uh,
problem. I
yeah,
love talking
yeah,
politics,
yeah,
and I'm an open book, man.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
So,
All right. Well, thanks, Dylan.
hey, thank you, Ty. Have a good one.